welcome back to yet another video. It's a fact that some shows deserve better than what they've received from the companies who created them. Sometimes they were cancelled far too soon, or internal politics have had good shows ruined, left in limbo, or cancelled despite a laws to give community support, or at the very least the show does not get to end on a high note, it's merely just fading into obscurity. For example, the Disney Channel and the Disney animation team have always managed to deliver good TV most of the time, and a lot of the shows they've created have been given what they're due. Given everything that a lot of these shows have had to put up with at the House of Mouse, they've often can bring their story-driven shows that have been both entertaining and engaging, and well, the Owl House was no exception to this rule. However, last year, Disney decided to end the Owl House with 3 seasons. However, unlike Amphibia, which got 3 proper seasons, which that show rightly deserved, Owl House only got 3-hour-long specials when it really should have had a proper 3rd season of about 20-ish so episodes as previous to. This would at least given us proper arcs on Earth and another proper arc on the Boiling Isles, while completing all the main characters' stories. And of course, there was the Collector himself, who was the child that ability to spend space-time. In my opinion, this character was very interesting. He was a young boy who only really wanted to have friends and to play with someone. Yeah, he was sealed away, I think, would have been out of fear of his powers. All very interesting, and a full 3rd season could have brought many elements to their logical conclusion, especially when it came to the main villain, Bellows, who I thought his story hadn't been told yet. However, thanks to some what I assume to be politics and the middling executives, this show really never got any better treatment. Proper 3rd season would have really done the show justice, as it would have fleshed out Amity and Luce's relationship properly. It would have quite possibly had maybe the same problems that we saw in Amphibia Season 3, with the cast on the Boiling Isles having to try and fit in on Earth in the same way that Luce had to try and fit in on the Boiling Isles. Of course, they would have gone back. And at the same time, it would have possibly brought meaningful arcs for all the other characters who were quite interesting and compelling in their own way. Like why some of them have devoted themselves entirely to the form of magic, what were their relationships like, and at the same time, who else was in the Resistance with pretty much effectively against Bellows, and what exactly were the Titans like? Like why did King start out so small, and how could Titans grow to the size they did? And then comes RWBY. This show was once a success story with both the anime and animation communities, showing what a small studio could achieve when they had the right mix of creative talent and luck. And it was something special. It was a show designed for fans, with the characters being easy to cosplay for, with a lot of the elements available, without requiring minimal effort to make them. For the most part, later costumes would be more difficult to replicate, but that was more likely to the fact of access to design resources becoming more prevalent. And despite the rough production values of the early 3 volumes, the show would become well loved and highly successful for a show, and combined with the rest of Rooster Teeth's developing portfolio, it would see the company getting bought by Warner Brothers, and RWBY would seem to plod along, becoming something of a cash cow. And it would seem RWBY would be on the way to becoming a well-established franchise that would eventually become an institution in popular culture. However, Warner Brothers Discovery, as we should call it now, would interfere, and it wasn't the only challenge the show faced. First of all was the pandemic delaying production of Volume 8, as well as rising costs and later additions. The story would never be seen. But for RWBY should carry on, as it's not just a show, but as a franchise, and it deserves a chance to get a proper ending to the original show, but also keep going with the franchise. There are more stories to be told. But the meddling of the current board of directors at Warner Brothers Discovery and executives have very nearly killed RWBY. Only this year there's been more bad news. Warner Brothers Discovery have shut down Rooster Teeth, citing reasons that probably sound a lot like company politics to me. However, RWBY has got more content out this year, and perhaps the much appreciated Volume 10, which is currently still maybe in development, may not be the end of the show that it will be. And if the team at Rooster Teeth and the production company can get the funding they need to bring RWBY Volume 10 to light, and if Warner Brothers Discovery can agree to some sort of agreement with whoever's potentially buying RWBY, and whether or not they actually get the chance to produce what they want, the franchise will carry on and may get a major shot in the arm. And yes, RWBY really does deserve better, and to keep going up, because of the fact it's just a well-loved franchise. It has a surprisingly high degree of profitability and potential, like more well-established and long-running franchises. And it has still room to growth, in my opinion. And there's still a lot of growth potential. And if the right partner can be found and the right circumstances met, RWBY could become basically another highly popular show. It just has to find the right set of circumstances. And potentially, maybe something like a TV broadcast could give RWBY a new lease on life into the future. And perhaps a larger audience, but I feel it does deserve. As it's a relatively easily cached, and it would allow RWBY to continue to live for both fans new and old. Let's hope RWBY does continue for years to come. It's just that circumstances may see this take a little while, if at all. Well, we can only have our fingers crossed. The final show I think that does deserve better than a lot of what's been given by the producers is Star Trek Prodigy. This was basically a well-needed boot to the Star Trek franchise as a whole. As not only was a fitting tribute to a number of Star Trek actors who had crossed the final frontier, it's also given us some new characters, and it's been a fresh change to Star Trek, with both an animated show, but also a more lighted and fun tone, which has given a good turn of some common Star Trek tropes, and it's been able to use them in interesting and fun ways, such as an episode involving time shenanigans, which shortly enough saw the protocol keep blowing up. Also, and thankfully, Star Trek's second animation run in its entire history has now gotten the much-needed second season, which will give the show at the very least a chance to give Star Trek a much-needed new audience, given the fact it has younger viewers, and will be a real boost to the legacy franchise. It's been both by old fans and potentially drawn in new audiences. It was just a shame the fact it got technically cancelled and pulled from Paramount Plus. Luckily, the second season is now broadcasting in a number of countries, and will be coming to Netflix sometime this year, hopefully, when the first broadcast has been completed. After that, we'll see what happens. At the very least, Star Trek Prodigy has had a chance to shine in the sun proper. And only time will tell if it carries on. Nothing's been said yet, but maybe we might get 2 seasons. We may never know. And with that, we have 3 shows that should have gotten better. Well, one that did deserve a lot better, one that should be getting better, may or may not be, depending on how things turn out, and one show that has gotten the treatment it does deserve. If you ask me, there are a lot of shows that do deserve better treatment from the executives of the companies that own and created these shows. And perhaps, maybe, if they were let to continue, then Hollywood may not have as many problems as it has at the moment, and may still be able to generate the audiences it once had the majority of. As we've seen Hollywood getting new competition as of late, not only domestic on the box office, but also in terms of its own awards ceremonies as well. So maybe fresh stuff might be able to change that. We may never know. We can only wait. But that's for me. 3 shows I think probably deserve more. There are a lot more, but I'm pressed for time here. So I've been the other channel. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheerio!